Welcome. This is a demonstration of the administration interface. Today, we will walk through the sign-in process, calendar sync, live messages, flashcards, and recurring messages.
That sounds like a great overview. How do we get started?
We begin at the login screen. To ensure security and simplicity, access is restricted to Google accounts. Please sign in and allow calendar read permissions, which are strictly required for the system to work.
This is only first time?
Yes, future sign-ins will be faster. Google takes security seriously. This app has been verified to meet their requirements. The initial process is simply Google making sure you are fully aware of what information the application can access. Next, we have the Google Calendar synchronization. From here, we can fetch copies of events from Google Calendar. It is crucial to let the synchronization process finish completely once you start it. Under the More menu, you can select other calendars that you have access to.
I suppose number of lines and font size depend a lot on hardware?
Exactly. It depends on the screen size and individual preferences. If the user prefers walking right up to the screen, you can display multiple events with more text. However, if they need to be able to read it from across the room, it is much better to display fewer events so the text can be larger and easier to read. These display options can be adjusted in the dashboard settings.
When I look closely at the 7 events currently displayed from Google Calendar, they aren't simply the next 7 in chronological order.
Correct. Seniorboard evaluates all events. It assigns a lower priority to routine, repeating occurrences, while highlighting the most important ones. Therefore, you don't just see the next 7 upcoming events, but a curated mix of the most immediate and significant ones. A routine event like morning run might only appear a day in advance, whereas a Halloween will be displayed weeks ahead of time. This intelligent filtering is exactly what sets Seniorboard apart from other systems.
But how do I indicate that certain events are more important than others?
In fact, it might not even be necessary to set priorities, especially in the beginning. But if you want to, it isn't done here. You manage it directly in Google Calendar by color-coding events based on their priority. You shouldn't mark everything as important, but doctor's appointments or easily forgotten dates are good candidates. If the dashboard sees a red event, it treats it as highly important. Yellow means important, blue is standard, and green is low priority. The system continuously calculates which events make the most sense to display. Therefore, a daily morning run won't clutter the screen, whereas a major event like Halloween will appear well in advance.
That's smart. I already use Google Calendar, so I just need to update it as usual.
Yes, and just remember to sync it when you're done. Once the calendar updates, a signal is sent to the screen to refresh its content.
How do I actually start the display once it's mounted on the wall?
You just open the application and select My Board from the top menu. After that, the system runs itself entirely. Zero user interaction is required. If you set Chrome to remember your Google login, restarting the device, for instance after a power outage, will be much quicker. For the best experience, press F11 to switch to full screen mode. Let us look at live messages. This feature allows us to send text directly to the Seniorboard, a screen that is always on and typically mounted on the wall at an elderly family member's home.
Can we try sending one right now?
Yes, we will start by sending a simple hello. Here in the preview pane, we can see exactly how this message will be displayed on their large screen. When sending a message, we can define exactly how many seconds it should remain visible on the screen. We can also select whether the screen should attempt to read the text aloud.
That is very practical. Could you send it from your phone?
Yes, the administration interface works seamlessly on your phone. This is especially useful in everyday situations, for example, if you're trying to call your father and he does not hear the phone ringing. You can quickly send a message to his screen saying, "I am trying to call you."
Tell me about flashcards. Isn't that just a slideshow?
Yes, a slideshow is primarily for sharing family memories, while flashcards are designed to help train the memory, though they are somewhat similar. The system allows you to create a series of different flashcards, each containing between 1 and 5 pictures of the same person or object. Throughout the day, a picture from a random card is displayed, and this is repeated, for example, for times an hour.
So that means you have to upload a series of pictures of the same person? You cannot just upload a folder of family photos?
That is correct. The pictures must be organized specifically, which can seem a bit confusing at first. Let me show you on the screen. The trick is that the name is not displayed immediately, training the user to actively recognize the person. Experience shows this type of learning fails with just a single photo. You really need at least 3 to 5. Otherwise, the brain learns to recognize the specific photo rather than the person. For example, they might just learn that the woman in the red dress is Anna, recognizing the dress instead of her face.
So the idea is that you could have a card for each child, grandchild, great-grandchild, and other family members who might be hard to remember. Honestly, I could use this system myself for my wife's cousins and their husbands at family gatherings. I always forget their names. It seems this feature isn't strictly for the elderly.
Yes, it is used for that as well. It could also be a car's license plate, an address you keep forgetting, or the names of the neighbor's children. The very first version of the product was designed exclusively for the developer's own father. The target audience has broadened since then, but the core focus remains on a passive screen that quietly assists with everyday information throughout the day.
Okay, I think I get the picture. So right now, you are using Santa and a snowman as examples, but in reality, it should be pictures of grandchildren in various situations, wearing different clothes and maybe with different hairstyles. And I suppose it is also important to use recent photos. Otherwise, it could be confusing when they actually see an adult grandchild in person.
That is actually a crucial point. Many seniors remember their grandchildren perfectly well, but they can get confused when they see them in person if they look 5 or 10 years older. Their memory might play tricks on them, and if their eyesight is also failing, recognition takes a bit longer. Therefore, it is vital to avoid relying solely on old photos. Not every single picture has to be brand new, but including recent ones is highly important, especially for children, since they change and grow so quickly.
Let's say I want the granddaughter to be shown more frequently than Santa. Is there a way to prioritize certain flashcards?
Yes, each card features a priority setting to adjust its display frequency. If you notice that one child is easily recognized while another needs more practice, you can adjust their respective priorities accordingly.
You have created 3 cards now, but the system isn't actively running yet. I also noticed that a warning popped up every time you saved a card. What is that all about?
That is because the board is running, but the flashcards feature is not yet enabled. We need to go into the settings to activate it. In the settings, we can also adjust how often the cards are shown, what time of day they should appear, and whether there should be an audio cue. You can access the settings directly from the main administration page or by using a shortcut. I will use the shortcut to open all settings right here. Here in the settings card for flashcard, we can fine-tune exactly how the flashcards behave throughout the day. First, we have enabled, which simply turns the entire flashcard feature on or off. Frequency, you can choose to show a card 2, 4, or 8 times an hour. A word of caution here. Be careful not to set this too high. If the screen becomes too active, it can be perceived as visual noise or even becomes stressful. Finding the right balance is highly individual, and the same principle applies to the frequency of recurring messages. Now, let us move on to recurring messages. These are gentle reminders that appear repeatedly at various times throughout the day. They can be used for everyday tasks such as remembering to charge the phone, drinking enough water, doing daily exercises, checking the mailbox, or taking out the trash. These messages are evenly distributed across the day, exactly as defined in the settings. You also have the option to schedule messages in advance. For instance, if the weekly bridge club is on summer break, you can set up a message to remind them of that. You simply define a specific start date and a predetermined end date, so the message will automatically begin and stop showing exactly when you need it to.